Okay, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone present here today. A very warm welcome to Old Passion Singapore, Malaysia Global. My name is Jeannie Tan, your host today. Old Passion was formed in November 2020, run by a group of dedicated host team members. We had our first trial webinar on the 23rd of September 2021, and our first public webinar was on the 30th of September 2021. Under the mentorship of Dr. Bill Williams, we meet on every Thursday. The mission of Old Passion is to ignite passion for humanity, to nurture mindset and leadership for passion and obless, and to form passion groups for good causes. And tonight we have our speaker, Dr. John Ajongwen, and we all know him. He needs no introduction, but we will still do that. So I'm going to pass the next segment before we call upon Dr. John. I'll pass the next segment to Mabel.
Yes, this intro video, as usual, is created by Kumaran, our brother from Malaysia. And let me share screen now. This is the one, I believe this is
This is just the beginning. I'm very happy how it came out. Nothing like we planned, but it was perfect.
We go to the top with the Philippines. We go to the top with the Netherlands.
Singapore.
We go Singapore.
Absolutely. We are in Singapore. We'll make a show of it. Yeah.
Bangladesh.
Yeah, indeed.
See you at the top.
See you at the top. Thank you, Dr. Bill. Appreciate you.
To the future we rise high with We promised our founders, as always, we over-delivered. Stay tuned for much more to come.
Oh,
Greetings to my single.
oh. Okay, good. Kumaran, did I have the right video? But nevertheless, the intro is done. And welcome everyone. Thursday, 27th of March. And our speaker today is none other than Dr. John Ajongwen. Dr. John is no stranger to us. We have invited him to come and give us the correct and get ready with a financial mindset for the months and the years ahead as to how to manage our finances. So Dr. John is highly educated with a PhD in chemical and biochemical engineering with an MBA, spent 20 years in pharmaceutical industry in various pharma companies managing global projects. His financial proficiency, as we said, that's why he is invited to help us have a correct financial mindset. He is into wealth creation, debt elimination, wealth protection, legacy planning, and strategies for efficient wealth distribution. He believes that ONPASSIVE is a beacon of good for humanity. Today, his topic, as we mentioned, is part 3 of his financial sharing. It's on the topic of protection, protecting our finances. Dr. John, thank you so much for coming again. Part 3, the platform is yours. Thank you for empowering us.
Hi, good evening, Sister Mabel. Good afternoon and good morning to the rest of us, wherever you're joining us. I hope you're staying blessed wherever you are, you and your loved ones. And really, it's an opportunity for me to really say good evening and greet all of you, and really come back again for us to meet and talk about this, our topic of financial mindset. So let me see whether I can share my screen here. Okay. I think we've been going through a journey for the last 2 sessions. We sort of talked about, many of us, I'll say majority of us that are in this platform are people who used to, or who are used to our standard employment. And we are employees who were employed by somebody to work for them. And we normally would just go work, we get our paychecks, we come home and wait for the next month, or if you're paid monthly, or wait for the next week, or whatever schedule that you get paid, and then get another paycheck. We didn't really used to worry about other things. But since we sort of started moving ourselves and our mindsets to be thinking more like business owners, if we are business owners, there is a difference in the way that we think. And there is also a lot of benefits that we can gain by being in business of one form or another. One of those benefits being that we can actually enjoy time freedom. At the same time, when we become business owners, we are now the owners of all the things that we do not take or think about them when we do our regular jobs and go home. So we have talked about some planning ideas that we need to consider. We have talked about some things that you need to take into account when you're running your business, especially how to optimize your cash flow so that you can make the best returns for it. But as business people, you know, when you're out there and you're successful, what will happen is that there are also people that would be jealous of your success and want to harm you one way or the other. It may just be as simple as disrupting your business. There are others that are employees for you that you need to take care of. And there are some of those natural things that, or what I'll call natural perils that could happen in the course of your business that you need to take care of. And so today, I just wanted to, again, these are just very high level concepts that have been thrown out there so that people they will just gain the awareness. And depending on what type of business you're involved in, you can always get out and talk with the professionals who would be able to go deeper into them. And when they go deeper into them, my thought here is that at least you have the concept and you can have a good discussion and more Q&A with them rather than just sit there and be lectured at. So when we talk about protection today, I'm going to handle it in number of areas. Why? Because as a business person and as businesses, we actually face unique challenges that if we hear the word insurance, a lot of people sort of just, they scream and they think, oh my God, not them again, and not those insurance people. Because if we did a poll here, what I'll probably find out is that a lot of us have had like negative experiences with what type of insurance or another. But that said, this is one of those areas that as a business owner, you need to actually understand what's there and how it can apply to your business. And I'm going to just touch on the broad spectrum. And as we journey together, you're going to figure out what can be good for you. And in the last part of our presentation next month, we're going to look at legacy planning. And now you're a business person, you've spent all your energy trying to build a successful business. How do you make sure that there is continuity in that business after our time here on earth is gone, or if you choose to retire, or you just want to take some time back? So we'll look at some of those items the next time we meet. And as a business person, we know that protecting the financial assets and ensuring business continuity is critical, whether from perils, whether from death, whether from illnesses. It's critical that your business stays and continues to perform, because when obstacles occur, they have this tendency of disrupting. And so there are a wide variety of options that are available for diverse industries, and we're going to just explore some of them. And the last thing I just want to say, as not a disclaimer, but just to say that, yes, I am based here in the United States. Most of the things that I say may be informed by my knowledge of how the industry operates in the US. But as I've looked at different countries, I would say 80–90% of all of these apply. So I hope that they will be useful to you. So let's dive right in. The first thing that you really need to consider when you're looking at it from a business point is really to think about liability insurance. And when they talk about, so I want us to just understand the different types of insurances that are available for a business person. And when we talk about liability, there is general liability, there is professional liability, and other types which we'll talk about. But general liability for your business will just, think about, I normally will make it a joke that here in the US, somebody can just walk in front of your house, they trip, they fall, and then they say they got injured in your premises. So your premises could be your business as well. So accidents that are a business, somebody's climbing and they fall off a ladder, some of those type of things. It could even be something against defamation. Say you advertise the product and somebody went and purchased it and they thought that that was the best thing since the slice of bread. And all of a sudden they come back and say, hell no, what you sold me was a fake thing. And so I'm going to sue you. And so how do companies protect themselves against those type of malicious things that would actually come from? Again, some of them might be genuine accidents. Some of them may just be people trying to milk from you because you are now the hunted. So you need to have some sort of general liability insurance to just cover you against those type of frivolous lawsuits. And then there is also what you call a professional liability insurance. So if for people who decide to become like consultants, medical practitioners, lawyers, most of the time they get sued for malpractice or for negligence. And so if you're involved in that type of a business, it's always nice to have a professional liability insurance, because that would cover you. Again, you can go out there and do everything with your best intention in mind. But as you know, especially people in the medical practice, things can go wrong. And then people will say, okay, go after them. You want to be protected. You can be a consultant and you give some people advice, and then they turn and say, your advice was actually harmful to me. So you need some sort of professional liability insurance to protect you against that. And the third type of liability insurance is that which really, if you are dealing with a product, you want to to protect yourself against a defective product. We have heard a lot of times how companies will pull products back from the shops because they found pieces of metal, or they found that the product was not good. Most of those are liabilities which we would actually cover with product liability. And so if you are involved in the area of products, especially, whatever that product is, you may want to consider liability insurance for that. The next category really is this one that we call the casualty insurance. Again, casualty insurance, say here in the United States and in other places, typically we could cover your workers. So medical expenses for injured workers. It could actually provide for some replacement of wages if the person gets injured at work. And so as an employer, now you have to consider these things, because when we're employees, we are on the receiving end, and this is not something that's on our radar screen. So that's what we need to actually add into our list of things to do. And then obviously, if you have things like company cars, and you want to make sure that your fleet cars and all the other vehicles that you use for your business, you know, that they have the appropriate type of either fleet or auto insurance. And this, again, depending on how your business is structured, you may actually put them in some, you may actually put maybe your vehicles in some sort of a company to protect yourself, and maybe we'll explore some of those next time when we meet. And then the last one that I just had on this category is like, you may also, oops, sorry, I skipped too far ahead. You may also consider other casualty. Say if you have a fire, a flood, something that destroys like your physical facility, you may want to protect those ones. The third category of insurance that as business people we need to consider, which is really, really critical, is this one of a health insurance. And the different types of health insurance policies depending on where you are. In some countries, the government provides a lot of health insurance, but companies also carry a burden. And so for this one, I chose that I will not really dwell a lot on, because this one varies from country to country. But the main thing is that if, as an employer, you see that there are gaps in the provision of healthcare, and you actually reach out there and you provide health insurance for your business, for your employees, it really starts to show them that you care for them. And in most cases, this is also one of those cost items we discussed last time that you can write off from your taxes, because this is a business expense on its own right. So casualty, liability, health are some of the insurance policies that you really want to consider when you are thinking about yourself as a business owner. Now, I want to really move into another category, which is so important, it's so critical, that whether you operate your business as an individual or you end up being a group, like a limited liability company, or you are actually a bigger corporation, this is something you need to consider. And this is life insurance. And when it comes to life insurance, again, this is one of the areas that there's a lot of misconception, but I don't want to actually deal with those misconceptions. I just want to talk about the different types that are available and why you may want to consider one or the other. So when we talk about them, the first one is group life insurance. Many of us who are employees may have some sort of life insurance through our employer. And what that insurance does is that it is really offered as part of your benefits package. And the purpose of it is really to soften the blow on your family should the worst happen to you while you are employed with that worker. So many companies would sort of give you a life insurance, which can be maybe 1 to 3 times your salary, your annual salary. And they give you options to purchase more. And sometimes, depending on where you are and the companies, they may even allow you to purchase up to 10 times your salary or up to a certain dollar amount or whatever currency you're using. What this does is that it actually, if something were to happen to you, you pass away during your employment with that company, the company will reach out to the insurer. They would get a death benefit that they can then pass to your family. Most of these policies, they tend to be super cheap, or in some cases, the companies will actually cover the whole cost of it. And so who is it for? It enhances employee benefits in most cases, because some people look at their compensation packages beyond just the base salary. And if those benefits include some real good life insurance policies, then it would actually help some of those employees to be attracted to those companies, or to actually help retain those top performing employees in that company. But the primary benefit is that you, as the employee, you actually feel that the company, they care for you. And if something were to happen, they will extend that care beyond you or to your family. And as I mentioned, they are typically very cheap. Most of them probably would not cost you unless you start going over and above what the company gives as the standard, and then start taking the extra. And in a majority of cases, you don't even need a medical to enroll for the base package. So if your base package says 3 times your pay, and you're a qualified employee meeting certain hours of work, and you choose to be covered, you are covered. It's when you start taking the optional amounts that you may find some of those insurers may want to do some underwriting. Why is this one very cheap, and why do companies see this as an option? Is because in most cases, think about your job site. When was the last time somebody dropped dead at your job site? So the probability that in a company of 100 people, that one person will die during the course of a year is very low. So the insurance companies can afford to offer this to companies as a benefit for a very low cost, and the companies will take it and just pass it to the employees. On top of that, when you understand how life insurance works, the cost varies by age and it varies by gender. So if you have an organization that has a combination of females and males, it has young and old people, when you average that, the number becomes very manageable. And we're working with large numbers here. So from a risk point of view, the insurance companies feel comfortable. The only thing to remember about group insurance is that it covers you while you're working for that employer. And the day you stop working for them, there is no need why they should continue to take that responsibility. So when in my experience, we have had a lot of people that I went to talk to them about, do you have life insurance? They say, yeah, I've got the one at work. Yes, it's good, but it's not on its own really great, because if you leave that employment, it typically ends immediately, or in some cases, the employer may ask you to port it along with you to a different company. And during those times, you realize that the insurance company may reevaluate the cost and your cost may be higher. And then there is disability insurance. And the purpose of this is really to replace part of your income if you are not unable to work for a period of time due to some illnesses or chronic diseases, or even you may find out that women who go on maternity leave and they have some pregnancy complications may actually qualify for disability insurance. The thing about disability insurance, no matter where it is that it will never ever recover, never ever cover 100% of your salary. Why? Because while the company wants to support you during the time you're off, they don't also just want to make you so comfortable you don't want to come back to work. So if you ever see disability insurance, it's always a percentage of your income. It's never 100%. And there are typically two types of disability: short-term and long-term disability. The short-term typically covers people for up to, say, 6 months periods of time, depending on the country. But longer-term disability could actually cover an employee up to retirement or much longer. Again, while this is not a legal requirement, some companies will offer this as part of their package. And as a business owner, you may want to consider whether this is something that may be good for you, because as a business owner, you're also the employee. So some of this may be applicable to you. Your company may take them on for you and pay them as business expenses. So why do their companies even consider this type of policies? One, again, it shows that you as the employer, you have a good commitment to the well-being of your employees, and it really builds some goodwill. And because the employees know that in the event of a problem, the company has their back, it really helps with employee retention, because they're not that worried as to what is going to happen with them. And one of the other things is that because you can actually have employees covered by these policies, it tends to reduce the long-term productivity losses if those employees face some sort of health issues. So we talked about how it would actually attract employees and as a risk management tool. The other one which people confuse a lot is disability versus long-term care insurance. And again, you need to understand that when it comes to the disabilities, they're typically associated with some illness or some situation that has occurred, and is distinct from what you got here, where it's a long-term care, and that long-term care typically goes beyond that short-term 6 weeks to 12-week period. And people also, in addition to confusing long-term care and disability, they think that because they have health insurance, it would cover them for long-term care. No, long-term care typically, as I say, I think generally, even beyond the US, it tends to cover what they call ADLs, or activities of daily living, which is being able to bathe, being able to dress, being able to eat, bowel control, getting in and out of bed, those type of activities which somebody is unable to perform either due to age, chronic illness, injury, or some other disability. So disability could lead to a long-term care issue, and you are not able to do these activities of daily living. In that situation, now you are relying on somebody to be providing those services, either at home, in an adult daycare, in a rehab center, or even in a long-term care facility. This is something that, especially in the Western world, is becoming a very, 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 very huge cost to a lot of people and families. It also results in a lot of emotional stress to the family members who are the caregivers, because think about it now, life expectancy has increased greatly. Healthcare improvements have even extended life. And then you get to a point where somebody is either too frail to do some of the things they used to do, and they need to be in some of these assisted living facilities, or they want to be at home. In fact, after COVID, a lot of people preferred to stay in their homes rather than stay in some of these care facilities, until when they actually need almost round-the-clock protection, where they would, or round-the-clock care, where they would need a nurse or doctors, they will move into nursing home facilities. This type of insurance, in many cases, is not covered by health, the typical health insurances that we have. I know that say in the United States, for example, we actually have what we call the Medicaid, which is really designed for people who are below a certain income level, and those ones could qualify for long-term care. But people who are above that threshold will have to depend on their savings, and the cost of taking care of this elderly or chronically ill can rapidly deplete anybody's savings. So whether you are thinking about this for your own business or for yourself, this, alongside with regular life insurance, is a critical component that one needs to consider, and even consider it sooner, because if you then get into some healthcare issues, most of the companies would not actually accept you at that point. So it's good to get it early while you're still healthy. Again, I threw a couple of bullet points here just to reemphasize the differences between health insurance and long-term care insurance, because it's something that people don't fully understand. Health insurance really looks at covering you for your medical bills, like your doctor visits, your hospital stays, medication, and so on. And it will not, again, cover this custodial care that we have talked about. While the long-term care, you may still have somebody who is not sick, but that person needs support and help just to bathe or to feed themselves. And that's where the long-term care comes into. And it allows that person to have that care either in their home or even in a care facility. Or you may even have somebody that needs what they call respite care. Say you're a caregiver and you go to work and you have an elderly person, and you want to just take that person to a facility where they will be able to have some social interaction with other people while you're at work, just for a few hours. Those are some of the things that long-term care would cover, but your health insurance policy may not necessarily cover those. And so when you look at companies using this, they're really using them again as part of employee benefits because it really starts showing the heart that the company has for the employees. And for business owners, it helps them greatly because if you find a situation where, let's say, I am an employee of Sister Mabel, and she has a long-term care policy for me. I get injured, I'm off for about 6 months, and she claims long-term care insurance, maybe uses part of it to hire somebody to be covering for me while I'm away, but then uses part of it and actually sends to me as part of, some sort of salary, quote unquote, to me while I am away for those periods of time. Just imagine, I would not even think about going to look for another employment when I'm done, because I will know that this is the best company on the surface of the earth. And she would not necessarily have been taking that money out of her business coffers. She would have been using insurance that she actually provided for me in those cases. So for the employers, for the business owners, it helps really to protect the business assets by making sure that there is some coverage. It helps them to actually create that financial stability for the company by making sure that while I am away sick, she can still get somebody to cover me. She can still wave a little carrot for me out there without me necessarily feeling that the company has left me on my own. And on top of that, companies will consider this as a business expense. We talked about this the last time, and depending on how it was structured, the companies will actually get the business will actually get a tax benefit by getting long-term care for their employees. So it's really one of those what I call a unique forward-thinking option that businesses and individuals should consider as part of their long-term financial planning, because there was an article I read in the US, and I think maybe in other countries, there is the 401k, which is a retirement package. But a 401k, somebody made a joke and said 401k is like $401,000. It's like the average cost of healthcare for somebody in retirement. So if you have a way to protect yourself, then it becomes important. And then there is another type of insurance policy, which I would say, if you are a business person, you should consider if this applies to your location, and it's the one they call a key person insurance. What's a key person insurance? Again, let's say I'm an employee, I'm a business owner, and I keep using Sister Mabel as my example, and she is a key vital employee for me. I know that if something were to happen to her, my company could come to a grinding halt. So she could have been a founder, she could have been a CEO, she could have been the best tech person that I have for my business. And now I would actively go out there and I get a key person insurance on her. Plus, I may even add long-term care on top of that key person insurance. So let's take a situation where we unfortunately lose that individual. Now, as a business, I am left with a void. Where do I go and hire like a super replacement? I have to go through spending my own business money. So I actually will go out there and spend a lot of company money to look for the right person. But if I had that insurance on her, I could actually use some of the funds from that to replace, train, or even cover for that person. It may even be that the person got sick and I could only take the long-term care portion of that insurance, give some to her, and use some to get somebody to cover the business. So this is something that is critical because it really protects the business from losing critical expertise and leadership, and it helps the company to really maintain stability during those challenging transitional periods. So, I mean, I threw in a couple of examples here where if a business had like a really visionary leader, you would see that those companies will tend to have key person insurance on that employee. And again, you could be the owner of that company. You could be the only person that owns that company and decide that the key employee is you. So the business can take a key person insurance on you. Doesn't have to be a big corporation. Another one here is now when we talk about this buy-sell, this is again very important because why? Using Sister Mabel's example, let's say me and her now are business partners and we own a business. We own that business because we know each other. We have worked together. We like the way that we operate and we understand how to do business together. Now, something happens to me. My family never really cared about her. My family didn't really know who she was. They just knew it was a business partner. And all my family wants is give us our own share of the business. Let's move on. Now, if you had an insurance policy that was written between me and her, so let's say the company was $1 million, I will buy a $500,000 life insurance on her. She'll buy a $500,000 life insurance on me. And something happens to me today, my family comes in and say, listen, just give us the half so we can move on. She doesn't want to shut down the business because to give the half, they're not businesses that have their value sitting in a bank account. And no bank is going to just lend that company money just to go buy out the other partners' shares. So what happens in this case is that they will just claim the proceeds from the insurance, give them to my family, and then the business stays with her. So when you get this type of agreements, even if there are more than two people, they can still do the same thing, you know, cross purchase or what they call cross purchase agreements between those partners, so that especially doctors' practices, lawyers, or any partnerships, they tend to do those type of things so that at least something happens to one, the business doesn't have to be sold. And in some cases, the business itself can actually purchase those policies on those individuals, but then that is owned, those policies are owned by the business. And the reason that you do this is that by proactively going ahead and doing this, you as the partners have already agreed, at least in principle, what you think the value of your business is. And it would prevent you now from having all type of arguments if something should happen and family members come and say, we thought the business was worth 5 million. And you say, no, I thought it was worth $1 million. So it stops some of those disputes, and it protects the families of both the deceased partner as well as the ones that are staying to continue with the business. Another very, very important type of insurance policy that you may have to consider, and this one is very good for taxes, is what they call executive bonuses or restricted executive bonuses. You hear the different acronyms for this, or you've heard sometimes people mention about the golden parachutes. And what typically happens is that some executives are basically given a life insurance policy known as an executive bonus life insurance policy. And what that does is that, let's say a company purchases an executive bonus package for me, they would pay me, they'll pay the premiums of that policy for me as part of my compensation. Sometimes I may have to pay tax, or sometimes the companies may actually do what they call a double bonus plan, where they pay both the premiums and the taxes on it. And they may say that, okay, John, if you work with us for the next 5 years, then by the time you leave, this policy is all yours. And in most cases, these are policies that build a lot of cash in them. And if you guys, we talked about permanent life insurance policy in one of the presentations. Those permanent policies, they accumulate cash value. And so I could actually work with that company and they fund those policies. By the time that I leave that company, that policy is mine. It could actually have hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash value embedded in that policy, covered by a death benefit, which I will end up not paying taxes on. So you'll see that this executives might be told, well, if you choose to leave within 3 years, you can take that policy, but you have to pay back some of the money. If you leave within 5 years or after 5 years, well, it's all yours and you will not have to repay anything. So that's really like what they call a golden handcuff, because you know that there's a big package waiting for you out there, and it may force them now to really keep that employment active for that period of time. So those type of policies, they're really used not only to attract, but to retain the key personnel that the company have actually identified as necessary for running their business. So as a business owner, again, you could choose not to have a big salary. You could choose to have a nominal salary and also give yourself an executive bonus, because it has not only the life insurance component, but you can use that depending on where you are to build a lot of cash in it. And I know that Singapore, Malaysia, India, they have similar type of policies that will build cash. Other business options that we want to consider, we did talk about the building insurance as property insurance as part of the casualty insurance, which really would cover equipment, it will cover damages, things, natural disasters and thefts. And recently, a lot of companies have realized that with the rise in cybersecurity crimes, cyber liability insurance is one of those things that companies are beginning to take coverage for, because when you come to the point of losing some of your digital assets or data breaches, it can be very expensive to recover those type of assets, and therefore companies are beginning to insure themselves for those type of losses, as well as depending on the locations, some of them are actually also taking business continuity or business interruption insurance, where they are trying to say, okay, if we are affected by a flood or some earthquakes or fires, now we have lost some things which maybe as part of the casualty insurance, those items were not covered. They may take additional coverage. And again, another thing that most companies will do, and I'll say even if you're a single business person, liability and casualty insurance typically has a limit. It may be that you bought an insurance policy that will cover you up to 2 million, 3 million. Then you can go and say, okay, on top of this, I'm just going to get an umbrella policy for another 5 million or so. And you say, why? Because if your liability claims exceed what your standard policy limits, then you may want to just go ahead and protect yourself over and above that with what we call an umbrella policy. And one, I'll say final area that I just want to touch on here today is that as a business, if you think about it, you want to not only go out there and be profitable, look after your employees, but you want to be able to also bless others. And part of the protection could also be using insurance for charity. And what this does is it creates a tremendous leverage. And the tremendous leverage that you're providing is that you can take a life insurance where the business purchases the life insurance, and you can name that charity as a beneficiary. So instead of just giving $10,000 a year to that charity, the company can give that $10,000. It's a charitable deduction, but they specify that they should use it to buy a life insurance policy, which has the beneficiary as the charity as a beneficiary. And what this does is that it really magnifies the size of the giving. Just imagine your $10,000 a year could end up being like, let's say, $500,000 to the charity if the person that's named insured passes away. So if I choose to, instead of give 10,000 to a charitable organization, I choose that I'm gonna give the aid to them, and they'll have a life insurance where I am the insured, but the policy is owned by the charity and their beneficiary. I get the tax deduction from that charitable donation of $10,000 a year, but upon my passing, whatever life insurance that we were paying for becomes the whole lump sum that goes to the charity. So if you're thinking more long-term for your charity, rather than just looking at giving them the 10,000 to use today, that might be an option for you to consider as a business person. And again, we can use the key person insurance that we did and choose that the beneficiary would not be the person's family, but it could be a business. Or you could even choose that some of these endowments or trusts are beneficiaries to those policies. So you can see here that when it comes to talking about the ideas of protection, yes, you as the business owner, you want to protect your business from all those frivolous lawsuits that you're going to encounter. I think in ONPASSIVE, we've been told that we'll be the hunted. So you'll be the hunted in many ways. So you're protecting yourself. You are providing some sort of protection that will make your employees want to work for you, because you have health insurance for them. You have long-term care insurance for them. You have key person insurance. You have these executive bonuses that the executive bonuses and the key, you can also benefit from those. Or you can actually go beyond and look at it and say, okay, I am going out there to look beyond just my company and myself, but also look at how can I bless others beyond my my days here by building some of these charitable options using life insurance as a tool to magnify them. I hope that this did provide some sort of ideas that you can consider as you journey into this transition from employee to a business owner. There's a lot out there, and I just want to make sure that when you start thinking, you have a few more things in your toolkit that you can use for the benefit of yourself, your company, and mankind. I'm going to stop here, and I thank you for listening, and I will hand you back to our sister to take over and carry on with the meeting.
Thank you, Dr. John. Definitely very, very comprehensive. And we'll let John Barilla speak first. John, let us hear how you feel.
Yes, Mabel, thank you very much. I just want to say thank you, Dr. John. Very good, concise information, easy for us to understand, which is important. And I want to recommend to everybody that, of course, there's so much information there, so that you have to, find somewhere that you're going to get the advice again when it comes time as we move forward, because insurance is a very important thing. And I just want to make one comment about long-term care insurance. I had a personal experience with that. I just want to make a comment about it. Years ago, I was a chief caregiver for someone who was at the end of their days, and they had long-term care insurance policy that they had paid for many years for that time when it would come to be used. Now, I just want to say, I won't go into the details, but folks, be aware that the communication with your insurance company, especially with something like long-term care towards the end of someone's days, is very clear and concise and clear so that you don't run into trouble with that. Because at some point, it has to be declared that the person is in need of that long-term care that they've paid for that policy for so many years. And I had a personal experience where, due to a bad communication, that person did not receive their long-term care when they needed it. And so I just want to say, you have to have very good, clear communication, and you have to have those people in charge that make that decision that, yes, it is time now for the individual to put the long-term care into effect. Just to be aware of that. Just want to make that point to everybody. That's how important it is, but you must have good communication or something bad could happen. So that's all I want to say, and I want to thank you, though, Dr. John. Very, very good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother John. Okay, next we have Sister Yvonne.
Thank you,
Sister
Sister
Yvonne.
Jeannie.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Brother John, how much do we owe you? I mean, this is university level stuff you're doing here. It's
Yes.
amazing. And yet it is so comprehensive, inclusive, and it's relatable and easy to understand. I mean, sure, we might not all need all the things you're talking about. I hope some of us will know which ones we do need. But I wanted to ask you about, the group life insurance is the affordability because also of the volume? Where is Dr. John? Is he still here?
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. John,
Yes.
yes. Does volume affect the group life insurance?
Absolutely. What tends to happen is that when it comes to group life insurance, as you say, Sister Yvonne, or just let me take a quick step. Whenever you do get a life insurance policy, the companies they're looking out and saying, okay, what's the probability that I'm going to pay out? Because
Yes.
we have to be realistic. There are companies, they're there to make business.
Of
So
course.
large corporations, obviously, with hundreds of thousands of people, will tend to negotiate good rates for themselves than a little mom and pop company would do. But in general, when you deal with some of the larger companies, their rates for your 10-person company may not be significantly much higher than the rate for a 100-person company, just because those your 10 just came in and added to another group of 100,000 they already have. So yes, insurance, definitely the way they manage risk is the idea of large number. So the more people they have, the better. So yes, that the volumes do play, but in general, I think the rates would not be excessively more because their underwriting guidelines, they tend to be very similar, but larger companies will have a slight inch. Yes.
Thank you. And they have very, very, very astute actuarial professionals who are watching all the pennies, don't they? And to John Barilla's point, I think that watching of the wording applies to all the insurance because, as Dr. John says, companies are there to make money, and they don't, while they want the benefits, but they don't want to be giving away money. They're not charities. So they are very definitely watching every penny, and that's what the actuaries do. I also wanted to mention one thing, Dr. John. Would kidnapping insurance be covered under the key person insurance? Or is it a separate one altogether? Some companies have that, right?
Yes, some companies do have I don't know whether they would classify that under the
I know they don't
casualty.
broadcast it, Dr. John. I know they
Right,
don't.
but yeah, but when they actually take a key person insurance for their top executives, and
Right.
they depending on how they discuss with the insurance companies, they may actually put kidnapping ransoms as part of those ones for
Yeah.
some of the top because if the executive then gets kidnapped, the
Yeah.
the stock price could plummet like overnight in a big way.
Absolutely. And that's because you were talking about the
Those ones are typically not in the brochures.
No, I know. But because you mentioned that we're going to become the hunted, thank you, Dr. John. This was so enjoyable. I mean, you think the subject could be dry, but it's not. You make it so relatable. So thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you, sisters. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Yvonne.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have Goditi Guranandam. Goditi. Hello. Goditi, are you there? Can you unmute yourself? Not there? Not there, then we move on. We'll come back to you later. We'll go to Dr. Tunishai.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good evening.
Yes.
Let me take myself off the camera. Excellent presentation, Dr.
Yes.
John. Hi. Excellent presentation, Dr. John. I'm just sitting here with my mouth open. I'm going, wow. Wow. I mean, a lot of great information. I'm just in awe. I mean, I can understand why there are 100 people on this webinar. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I wish that you could get more, but a lot of great information. A lot of this I can relate to. We have a nonprofit, and so we do have liability insurance. And I'm pretty sure. Well, I don't really know because I don't have a for-profit. I only have a nonprofit, so I don't know if the liability insurance is the same or if it's a little different because of the rules. But we do have liability insurance, so I know that we're on the right track. So I thank you for that. Also, I wanted to say this: disability insurance, the short-term disability insurance. I want to give you a very short. I can call it a testimony, but I'll call it a story. Most of you know that I'm a cancer survivor, and I'm really saddened to say that when I became ill, I did not have short-term disability insurance. Okay, you know, we always go back, you can't afford it. You know, let me tell you, you cannot afford not to have it. If you are employed, or even if you're just self-employed, get disability insurance because you never know when something is going to happen. I was not even 40 years old when I contracted cancer. I was a young woman. All right. I had Hodgkin's lymphoma. I was in the fourth and last stage. And I really struggled. I made it through, but I really struggled financially. So after the fact, I did get the disability insurance and it did come up when I needed it again. But I just thank God it was in place. So I want to encourage you all, wherever you are in your life, whether you're not working, you may be self-employed or whatever you are, get short-term disability insurance. Do what Dr. John said, because that is so very, very crucial. And I just want you to know, Dr. John, I really do appreciate you taking time out of your life and giving us your expertise because there's so much information that we don't know. And it locates you, let you know there's so much more that we have to start including, like even the long care, the when after you get sick and everything and you don't have, what is it called? The long-term care.
Long-term care.
Yeah,
Yes.
long-term care. So that's something I have to look into. I do have good health insurance, but I do not have the long-term care. So that's something I'm going to look into because you never know when that time is going to come. And like he said, like John Barrero said, you got to communicate that to people. You got to have people around you who truly care. Now, right now, I'm working with an elderly couple. They're in my condo complex, and I don't think they have. I don't know what they have, but right now they have Medicare. And a lot of things are coming out of pocket. Their children, they have two children. One lives in Australia, the other one lives in Ann Arbor. They're just doing their own thing. They are the power of attorney, but they're not caring for their elderly parents. One parent has dementia, The other one just he's very sharp in mind, but his body is feeble. So right now, if the neighbors and the friends are rallying around this older couple, but where are the children? And the children are the one who have the power of attorney. You see what I'm saying? So if anything, and right now they need that long-term care because they're in a situation right now where they need someone to help come clean, cook for them, transportation, especially the one with dementia. When he is to leave the house to go to a doctor's appointment, I have to run down there and make sure she's okay. I don't mind, but that's something that should be put into writing, and they should have that type of insurance. So I'm not even sure if they have it, and maybe no one is brought to anybody's attention. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's very important, like John said, that make sure that you have the right people that are going to care about you, not just to have their name on there legally, but are they going to be concerned about you when that time comes? So whoever you have as a power of attorney over your affairs, please make sure these are people who love you, who care about you, and not just related to you, but they actually care about your well-being. So Dr. John, thank you again for sharing that, and we really do appreciate you. I personally appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely, we do.
Thank you,
Thank
dear.
you. Thank you, Dr. T. Thank you for bringing that up and highlighting it about the disability insurance. Yeah, thank you. All
I have a
right,
quick, I have a
Mabel?
quick,
Oh, sorry.
sorry,
Sister
sorry,
Yvonne?
Sister Jeannie. I have a quick
Okay.
question for Dr. T, just relating to what she said about having gotten the disability after the first bout with the illness. How did it affect the premiums? Did they check into that, and did they rate it differently than if you had not had it before? That's my question.
Well, most people, when they have disability like that, you can get it through your job. Okay, but I think that after the fact, if you go get it on your own, I don't think the premium was that much. I think it may have been, I don't think it was that much at all. It may be something like $25, $30. So it wasn't that much at all. It's important.
Okay, thank you, Dr. T. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister Yvonne. All right, Mabel, do you have anything to share or anything you want to ask Dr. John?
I think it's so comprehensive,
Yes,
you know,
is.
and for Singapore, definitely it's going to benefit retaining employees with all the employee benefits, endowment or life or liability. So, but definitely tonight is almost like a dictionary on insurance,
Yeah.
encyclopedia on insurance. Is definitely something that to go through for anyone with a company who is serious in looking after the employees or team that is working together. So definitely a time for us to go through in anticipation of what we want to do, especially Dr. John, some charities that we hope we are able to engage, and then in charities or the things that we want to organize for the betterment of the world, there will be many volunteers. Maybe help protect your nerves. Maybe volunteers, maybe people who come and help in the course of our work. So some of this insurance will definitely is a show of appreciation for their for their participation. Okay, is it Ramachan who put up their hand? And then of course, Dr. John, maybe you can help us to close too when the sharing is done. Jeannie, is Ramachan? You have something to say?
Yeah, Ramachan, please go ahead.
Unmute.
You can unmute yourself, Ramachan. Ramachan.
Ramachandran.
Right, Ramachandran. Can you unmute? Or accidentally put up the hand? Ramachan, let me make you. Can you unmute now, Ramachan? Okay, if not, then.
Yeah, he's back. Yeah, Ramachandran. Can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, maybe accidentally put up the hand. So, Dr. John, you want to help us close with this comprehensive education on protecting, how will you put it? Just a minute. I just want to protection for your business and yourself. Today, part 3.
So again, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share with you all. As I've always mentioned, every time that I come to this platform, although most of what I shared, or all of what I shared, I have used in one way or the other, I'm always pushed to go and do some more research to say, okay, will this really be relevant to people outside of the United States? So it's pushing me to actually learn a lot through this platform. So it's all of us who are learning. The key takeaway here, or key takeaways, one is that when it comes to this idea of an insurance, the best way to think about it is that this is really like a parachute for your financial future. And if you get into the plane before the plane even starts taxiing, what they normally do is they go through the safety briefings and they tell you where your parachute is located and so on. When you don't know where it is, or if you don't have it when you need it, it's too late. So just like with any insurance, and as a Queen Tunisia just said, when you are young and healthy, that's when we think we're invincible, but then that's when it is best to drop it, because the companies are looking at it on the risk. And at that point, you are lower risk, so they will be happy to take you. If you get some of those permanent policies, and then after a period of time, you're locked in, and whatever happens, happens. So it's a parachute for you to take, and you want to do it at the earliest opportunity. I always tell people, get the amount that you can afford today, and in the future you can upgrade, but don't just not have anything. Long-term care, as John talked about and Dr. Ford talked about, is something that is becoming very, 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 very emotional to families. As you just heard her say, our children are going to be struggling to take care of themselves wherever they are. And the healthcare system is not designed to provide for all of those things. I don't care where you are. So it's always been that the children take care of the older ones, and the burden has always tended to lie more on the females and the daughters. And also, there was a separate presentation. I talked to spouses and I said, push your husbands, if they're healthy, to go get a long-term care policy for you, not for them, for you. Why? Because based on the statistics, women have a shorter lifespan. Because of your maternal instincts, the women would do everything and take care of the husbands. And then we would deplete all the savings and just disappear without even saying goodbye. And you're left handling basically the can by yourself. So push to get some sort of long-term care for yourselves, ladies. You're blessed that you live longer, but there will be nobody to help in that case. When it comes to businesses, I know that this was focused on business, but remember, even if you are operating as an LLC, a single member LLC, it's a business. You're the business owner, and you can also be the employee. So some of these things will apply to you. Executive bonus, I have actually written executive bonus packages, policies for people who own their single businesses, because they register them like an LLC, single person LLC, and the executive bonus the business pays the policies to them. I have written key person policies for somebody who runs the business by themselves. So even as an individual running your business, you're the key person for that business. If you don't come and open the door tomorrow, it will not go on. So these things are not only for the big corporations, they are also for us when we go out there. And the third thing is, once you've taken care of protecting those assets that we want to protect for your business, you protect yourself. There is also that option that the insurance could be a good way for you to actually multiply the impact of your charitable giving. The last thing that I just realized I didn't talk about, which also goes with the, which could be a subset of the buy-sell policy, is that insurance for a business person can be very, very important when it comes to this legacy planning. Just think about it, that you have a business that is valued at $2 million. You have 2 kids. One of them is very interested in continuing with the business. The other one just loves the company cars. They don't really care about the business. Now something happens to you. One of them just wants the business to be sold so that they can get their cars and go. The other one who has been diligently working would love the company to continue. So what do you want to do in that situation? You may actually have a life insurance policy where the child that is not interested in the policy becomes the beneficiary of that policy, and the business belongs to the other child, and something happens to you, then the person who's been working diligently to build that family business carries on with that legacy. So there's so many uses of it. It's just a matter of how we think, and don't only think you have to have a big business to do about this. So just know that these tools exist, and if you need to reach out to the professionals, then you can actually reach out and have discussions with them, and they will be able to help you based on the laws in your own area. Thank you again once more for giving me this opportunity to share with you this morning, this evening, this afternoon, and I hope we would have the opportunity to discuss next time. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. John.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would like to say the last word, which is I encourage every one of us here, and even those who are not here, share with your friends that today's session is really, really very valuable. So please go ahead and revisit the recording that we will be posting on YouTube. So please mark the date when Dr. John's today's date, 27th of March, and go back and revisit. I think it is very important for everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. John.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really value what you shared with us today.
Thank you, everyone who's here. Dr. John, Dr. T, Yvonne, many of you here tonight. See you next week. Good night.
Thank you very much. Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night,
Great
everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.